Hey guys, it's Kyle from Aviator PPG. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the clutch bell if you have a Nitro clutched unit. We're just going to be replacing this clutch bell, and we're going to be removing some of the parts and taking the bearings, putting them inside of this new clutch bell, and replacing it back on. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to do is take off the prop. Next, we're going to remove the airbox. We're going to loosen these three exhaust bolts. We're not going to take them all the way off, we're just going to loosen them so that they're wiggling. That way we can slide the exhaust back. We're now going to take off these two exhaust bolts, top and bottom. We're just going to remove them all the way off. That way it's easily accessible and we can just move everything out of our way. Now we're going to take the exhaust. You can actually take it and pull it right back. Everything is now out of your way. The next thing we're going to do is loosen the top two bolts on the pulley. We're going to loosen these two bolts along with the rear bolt, which we will remove. Now, once we have those two bolts loosened, we're going to loosen, or actually rather remove, this rear bolt. By removing this rear bolt, it actually allows us to pull the entire system straight off. Alright, now that we have loosened these two bolts and removed the rear bolt from the upper pulley, we're now going to loosen the upper pulley, allowing us to take the belt off. Now once we have the belt off, you may be required to take these bolts all the way out. So right now we'll make sure that they're loose and we're able to do that. This upper pulley needs to be removed from here. So we are going to see if we're able to just pull. Nope. Okay. So what I will now do is actually just remove these bolts. Okay. Now as you can see, this is still tight. So what we will do now is grab a flathead screwdriver and a hammer. We're going to put this in the gap. We're not going to pound on it, we're just going to tap it just so we're able to get it out. Comes right out. And now, with a 13 millimeter socket, we're going to remove this bolt. So as you can see, it twists on there. We need to take an Allen key and put it right in the back where the coil is. You can see there's a small gap there. You actually put this inside of there. As you turn it, slides in. Now you can loosen this bolt. Now we need to get this off of here by using a puller, our standard puller. What we're going to do is loosen this up. Okay. Now once you get the puller centered on here, it's very, very important to keep it snug and straight. Now once we're to this point, all we are going to do is hold this and tighten it down. You can hear it pop. Just keep going and twisting. So the reason I stopped is because there is a shoes back here and we're actually pulling that off as well. Now what I will do is I will reset it to only pull on the clutch bell itself. This is the clutch bell. And this, there is a washer here which needs to go right back on. But here are your brake shoes, or your clutch shoes. And this is normally pressed on here, and in order to get this off, it's a simple tap and it'll actually come right off of here. But if you do it right with the puller, you can actually skip that step. So this actually doesn't even need to come off of here. we can actually leave it on, but I'm going to end up taking it off anyway. Now the next step is getting the new one on, and if we have to swap the bearings, we will do that next. And now we are done with this portion until we take these bearings out of this and put them right into this one. And that is what I'm going to show you next, is how to press bearings. What you're going to need for this part is a pair of gloves so you don't burn your hands, a 13 mil socket, and I'm using a 10 mil. We use the 10 mil to get inside in between these so we can push the I guess it's like a guide inside of there to the side, so we can push the one side of the bearing out, and then when we flip it over to get the other bearing, we can just use the 13 and just tap the other side out. First, what we're going to do, we're going to heat it up. This is where the gloves come in handy, so you can rotate it. Be very careful not to burn the bearings. Don't put the flame directly onto the bearings. Next, we're going to open the vise. I'm just putting a glove here just so it protects the shaft itself. We will take this small slide it over. Number one bearing is out. Flip it over. Push it down in. 13 mil socket. And there we go. That part is complete, and now we can put the bearings into the new clutch piece. Alright guys, so in order to get these bearings into the new clutch housing, we need to then take these bearings, both of these bearings, stick them in the freezer for about an hour or so, and we heat this up. We'll wait to heat this up until the bearings are frozen completely, but we're going to go freeze the bearings for 1 hour. And then we're going to heat this up right when we take the bearings out. We'll heat this up and then they should fall right in. So now we're actually going to start by heating up the new clutch piece here. Just going to take it, heat it up nice around the entire thing. Okay, once we have that heated up, put this glove here. We have our bearings fresh out of the freezer. Set it right on top of it, and we take the 13 millimeter and we tap it in. That bearing is now in. Now we're going to take the socket that we used, which was the 10 mil, and put it in the center so we can line up the center portion of that bearing so it doesn't hop around. Take the other bearing, use the 13 again. And sometimes if that doesn't work, you can tap around the outside. And then use this again. Just working your way around the outside of the bearing to get it flush. So this one sometimes pops back out. That's okay. We know we're ready to go back into it. So once we have that all lined up, we can just tap this one back into place. Sometimes they pop out like that, not a big deal. We want to be careful so we don't scar the outside of this. It won't hurt it, but it just looks bad. There we go. We're ready to install it back on the unit. Alright guys, now that we have the bearings back into the clutch bell, all we're going to do is put this right back on, slide it on. However, this is a pretty tight tolerance, so we're going to want to get a 2x4 so we don't scar up the front as we put it back on. So all we're going to do is get this on here. And get it as far on as you can just with your hand. So now we're just putting this back on here. All we're going to do is put this 10mm socket, it is a long socket, inside of here. And as you can see, we can't get it on any further with just our hand. So we're going to use our 2x4, and a hammer. We're just going to hold it nice and gentle right against it. Just going to tap it on, just slightly. Check this. Okay, not quite there yet, that's okay. Okay, once we got that on there, we're just going to keep tapping away. Okay. There we go. Now we're just going to keep tapping it until it gets actually on there all the way. Almost there. We want to make sure it's as tight or as far back as possible. Okay. Clutch is on there all the way. Now we can begin rebuilding the rest of the motor. So once we got the bottom pulley back on, all we do is put this 13mm bolt right back in, same way we got it out. Put the top pulley back on. We're going to snug these down just a little bit. Not going to tighten them because then we can't tighten the belt. So we'll just get them to the point of where we feel a little bit of resistance right there. Now we'll tension the belt until we have about that 20 to 30 degrees of deflection. Check it again. Rotate it a little bit. I think there's about good. And we'll hold this tension on it while we tighten it. Now we'll do the rear bolt. Okay. Once that is complete, all we have to do is reinstall the exhaust in the airbox, and we're finished. Make sure we retighten these bolts as well as these two up here so everything is in good working order and it's not going to be rattling around. And that's it. We got the prop back on. Everything is good to go. Everything is tight. We made sure the belt tension was correct. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I do understand that this can be a daunting task for some. It's actually very, very simple. Just follow the instructions, and if you guys have any questions whatsoever, just contact Aviator PPG and we'll be glad to help. Thanks for watching.